Week 35 store report, a new format, taking it out of the vlogs, sitting it on its own, just to check how successful it is. And we're going to measure that by the amount of views, likes and comments. So if this video does not get 300 views, I'm going to kill it off for the time being. Equally, if it does not get over 50 likes, then I may well kill it off as well. And it gets under 20 comments, again, this could well be the end. But primarily we focus on Australian stores with a little look at some guest stores further on in the video, so stay tuned for that. We are 756 stores in Australia currently across all of the states. These are those by item count. So most of these appear in the weekly check-in. Some of them, like an Amazing Brick Bazaar, don't, because they just don't do enough sales per week to get them in the top 10 as it is. But anyone that's watched this previously will be very familiar with an awful lot of these names. You can divide this by state as well, so quite easily we can just have a look at the biggest stores in WA. That's gone by lot count anyway. There you go, this is then by lot count. So what do we got? Brick Womble, highest in lot count. Brick Warehouse, Albany Bricks, huge lot count. Brick Den, those guys are selling up. Anyone looking to buy a store, get in touch with those. Brickstock, Victorious, and myself sitting there. That's pretty, I'm happy with that. Anyway, as I said, very important. You watch, you like, you comment if we want to continue this, but let's jump into the actual store report and see what week 35 has delivered. Bricklink Store Tracker. For those of you checking this out for the first time, this is based on currently the top 20 largest stores in the country. Although, as you'll see, kind of some new stores are being added into the kind of the tracking so that we can mix this up a little bit and make it slightly more interesting. So the week's total sales across those top 20 stores was 597, giving us an average of 23 when we exclude the largest store from it. Such a difference in their numbers, it really does skew that percentage by 2 or 3. Generally, so anyone doing 2 or 3 over the average is doing particularly well, and equally anyone below that average is kind of just performing below the average of the larger stores. This will change in the next couple of weeks. As you'll see, these new stores are going to change the game. So they're pretty much stores having a high percentage of sales, daily sales, according to Biometrics kind of tracker and my own data tracker. So as usual, we're not going to talk about the stores during which I am banned, but as you can see, things have moved around a little bit at the top of the shop there, but interestingly, this average price difference across the board has pretty much fallen. Now, that could be two instances. People listing parts for cheaper, or the average prices have gone up across Bricklink in Australia. So who knows where that kind of drive is coming without doing a kind of a deep dive on the individual stores' pricing. But as you can see, kind of Bricks Warehouse at the top here were tracking at 99% above the 6 months average, whereas when we started looking at these in this kind of way, they were 113% over the 6 months average. Equally, in second place, they've gone 12% below, whereas they were 7% below. So an increase of -5 in their pricing across the board. So top of the friendly stores, shall we say, is Sydney Brick Emporium. Tanya there, she's up 2 places, 44 sales this week, which is a dip of 4 on the week previously. And as anyone that's watched these before will know, kind of like a difference of kind of half a dozen is not unusual in an average week. People will know that Sydney Brick Emporium is generally a used store, and their percentage price difference has reduced by 7% from 69 to 62. And in the final column, just out of interest, this is the store value at store pricing as opposed to 6 month pricing. We'll probably look at it at both ways if this store report continues. Noah dropping 2 from last week's heady heights of 66 with 40 sales. That's a significant dip, and his pricing is minus 10% difference, down to plus 60 above the 6 months average. He and Sydney Brick Emporium are generally fairly close on that, usually just 1% between the two. So some daylight starting to appear between the store values, store pricing, I should say. New entry is Brick Womble. Obviously has an awful lot of lots, up in the top 2 or 3 of lot count for Australia, and from 27 sales last week, a jump up to 39, which is a decent jump, and the first time he's appeared in our kind of chart. So 79.7% used, running at 16% above the 6 months average, and the lowest store value in the whole kit and caboodle. So pretty impressive, given kind of the store value, the number of sales, and the fact that it is above the 6 months average. Clearly the room there that they could be making a little bit more money. Goldie Bricks Zone there, they've had a bit of a stinker of a week, and equally they're down 7% on their value above the 6 months average. Jace Bricks has made a meteoric rise in recent times, matching last week's sales of 30 again for the second week. I think kind of 3 weeks ago they were sitting joint 10th. They were up to 8th last week, and they were up to 9th last week, and they're up to 7th this week. 91.2% new, and their pricing above the 6 months average is a significant change. 23% change there, down from 26% to just 3%. So a bit of a price correction gone on there, and their store value sitting at 103,986 at their listed pricing. Brick for Me, creeping back into the top 10, and one of those stores which from memory has quite a complex additional pricing model as well, but they are running at 132% above the 6 months average, so by far the biggest above 6 months average that's in the top 20 there, and that is down 22% as well. So either, as I've said, either the 6 months average across Bricklink in Australia has jumped significantly, or all the stores are making price corrections. Probably the former, for it to be so kind of consistent across stores, and very much an expensive store inventory count. At number 9, dropping 1, is Queensland Bricks. Obviously this is one of the few 1 million plus part stores. They've dipped to 28 from 31 last week, so well within tolerance. Predominantly new, as we know, and their actual tracking above the 6 month average is the only one to have gone up. They've gone from 39% to 40%, and store value again fairly significant. And down 3 at number 10 is Papa Bricks, down 27 this week on 37 last week. Their 6 months plus or minus pricing is down 8%, and store value puts them probably middle of the table, I guess, in here, but not something we've really been looking at. So let's just take a little look at my own store tracker so you can see the trends. Total sales, kind of, it has been a quieter kind of end of August. 1 week was a blip, but certainly we've had a quieter kind of run since week 31, whereas the weekly average sales again kind of had a bit of a slide away, apart from week 34, which was a little bit of a bump up. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting point to track, but we'll see how we go. In terms of stores I've added to the tracking, Pretty Bricks are in there. That's Tasmanian based store, another of the top 3 lot count ones. Bricktastics, for those of you who are not familiar, they do an awful lot of rare and minifigure parts, so that'll be interesting. And the Brixons are in there. There was a fair few stores that we could have chosen to go in here. If you go from daily orders, as you can see from this chart, what you end up with is an awful lot sitting at the top, so we know all about them. But Pretty Bricks kind of jump into the top the top slot really in terms of daily orders, so tracking them moving forward. They're sitting 41% above, with a store value of that in USD. That doesn't change, so I need to work it. When you drill into the store, you get the actual breakdown of that, which I can do. And as you can see, Fantechnic back up there, their store has been suspended. There was an email that went out last night actually from them for a week, so they are behind the ball going into next week as well, but usually they're top of the shop as well. Bricktastics, as you can see, right up there. And then other stores that kind of were vying for that inclusion: K&A Bricks and Minifigures, Best Buy Bricks, HMG Hobbies, which is Haley, Craig's iBricks, although I know they're quite an expensive store, 84% over the 6 months average. And as you can see, most stores are up or below. Haley's got a sale on, I think, at the moment, which might be driving that. And then the Brixons down here. Shannon, we usually see him in the top 10. He's not had an appearance for a couple of weeks, but I'm sure he'll bounce back soon enough. And then we're into the 3s and whatnot, and I have no idea where I am. Am I even in this, or am I further out? No, I'm up there. So that's what we're going to be looking at moving forward. Man, I sound like Wankonomics, but interesting. We'll see what we're seeing over next week's store report, should there be one. And remember, you need to like the video to keep it alive. So this week's guest store is the Great Brick Lab. Obviously a pretty sizable store, part of that kind of American based mega stores. Daily orders sitting at 7, total items 2.2 million, let's call it that. A huge lot count, which is incredible. Let's have a look what they've been kind of selling over the last month in terms of locations. As you'd expect, high percentage of that going across the States. Canada featuring at 2.3, New Zealand 1.1. Go you. And all those people that thought there was no one in New Zealand to build Lego, but there you go. Germany, Belgium, France, Taiwan and Australia. So yeah, interesting enough. As you can see, they have had a huge increase in inventory, going from 2,011,000 up to 2,199,000. So that was a big old upload that went in there. Not that that's been refreshed, but store value, that is $1,015,866 US. Wow. But as you can see, they are sitting 239% over the 6 months average. So it would be interesting, and we'll do that in the future, to look at some of these stores at 6 months average as opposed to store listing. 90.3% used, 9.7% new, 99.4% parts, with 11,422 minifigures in stock. Pretty incredible. Yeah, wowzers. That's awesome, isn't it? So there you go. That's a little look at the Great Brick Lab. If you have stores that you are interested in nominating, leave a comment down below and it can go into the list of potentials for next week. Right, let's have a look who's the most expensive store in Australia while we're here, just because I'm interested. Hard to get bricks. They'll be hard to get at 657% over the 6 months average. The Overrun Garage at 333, an Amazing Brick Bazaar at 292. two. I think they're actually based here in WA. And then ones that I've never really heard from or bought from, but that is not a surprise given that those prices are going to be fairly significant. Brick for Me, which is in that top 10 this week, sitting at number 20 in the highest above 6 months average. Bricks Warehouse sitting at 25. Craig's iBricks sitting at 31. So there you go. A whole bunch of stores which are extremely expensive. So that is it for this week. As I've said a few times now, if you want this store report to continue in this form, be sure to like and comment down below. We are looking to go above 300 views to keep this alive. Otherwise, it's just not worth the time and effort. I can look at the data in the back end all by myself. So make sure you watch it, like it, leave a comment, things you'd like to see in the store report, all of those things. And we will maybe see you another time.